Hi, I'm Ralph Griffith, author of Monkey House. I'd like to explain a little bit about myself and Bernie Madoff. When I got out of prison 9 months ago, I had a little time to kill at the halfway house. And so I would go down to the San Francisco library to use their computers because I wasn't allowed to have a laptop right away. While I was down there, I read all the books that had been written about Madoff. And I quickly picked up that the writers of all these books knew nothing about Bernie Madoff. They knew nothing about what he was doing, his crimes, his methods, or how he rolled. They were just simply books that had his picture slapped on the cover and copied articles and newspaper articles. Nothing new, terminally boring. I saw 2 movies that have been made on Madoff, and they were both bullshit. One with Robert De Niro, who bought the movie rights from a woman who spent maybe 3 hours in the visiting room with Bernie and wrote his autobiography. I lived with Bernie for 7 years in a 60-man unit. This unit was so small, the house I live in now is bigger than the whole unit. And after 7 years, and I'm not talking about I would see him, I lived with the man. We only had about 10 people that we could talk to. The rest were all idiots or psychotics or drugged out freaks. And after that 7 years, I got a pretty good understanding of what Bernie was up to. The problem is, with Monkey House, is I wrote it in a humorous fashion, but even with my humor, I reveal more about the man than all the other books put together. All the movies that have been put on him, all the articles and short interviews, newspaper interviews, and quite frankly, they're all bullshit. The problem is with my book is that because so many books have been written about him and people have been burned by buying these worthless books, that they naturally assume that perhaps my book is also a fraud. My book is the only book out there on Madoff. I am the only leading expert on Bernie Madoff and his methods, which after 7 years, what else are you going to talk about? I know Bernie Madoff better than I know my own family. Think about it for a minute. 7 years, Bernie and I never went anywhere. We didn't get to go to Vegas on the weekend. The only time we left this small little place is when we went to the hospital. Bernie and I both have heart conditions, and that is why we were in Butner. Butner is a medical facility and a psychiatric facility. And that's where I came up with the name Monkey House. I started writing 14 years ago before I even knew the name Madoff. It was just happenstance, serendipity that I happened to be transferred, a writer, next door to Bernie. You know, Marco Polo, when he came back from his voyages to China and the Far East, was captured in a sea battle by the Genovese and held for ransom in a prison. So Marco Polo gets put in a prison cell with a guy that had formerly been a writer of romance novels in Italy. It was just same thing, serendipity. A writer and a person with an interesting story to tell happened to be placed in the same cell. If Marco Polo had been put into a cell that was some guy that wasn't a writer, we wouldn't even know about Marco Polo. Cut. That's good enough. I bet you that's 2 minutes. Let's see how that came out.